Hey, welcome back to the garage, everyone. In today's video, we're going to show you how to replace the dual air conditioning and power steering belts on a Cadillac 472. So stick around. All right, we got a little bit of an unboxing here for you folks. I got online and to my favorite, or one of my favorite online parts retailers, and we picked up a couple of brand new belts for the Cadillac. These are part number 13595, and these are from Continental. Or I believe the proper name is ContiTech. I believe that's what they go by, ContiTech. So the air conditioning and the power steering on these early 70s Cadillac big blocks require, or some require, I shouldn't say all, some require two belts actually. So let's take a look at these belts from Continental. Hey, look at that. It says Goodyear. Huh. Now that's interesting. It says Continental on the package, but it says Goodyear on the belt. And these are made in Mexico, right around the border. Right over the border, I should say. All right, so the Cadillac Factory Service Manual describes the manufacture of this very simple tool which will allow you to loosen or tighten the power steering pump and thus the belts. This is 1/4 inch thick by 1 inch bar stock, and the instructions and dimensions for manufacturing this tool are listed in the factory service manual right here. All right, so the reason I'm changing these belts out, they've only been on here about, about 3 years really. I began to notice a sound. You can tell right away here that this belt has worn itself much thinner than this one, and it is sinking down in the pulley as it goes around and around and around. So if you have a fan belt that you suspect is making some sort of odd noise, whether it be a squeal or a squeak or a flip or a flop or a or something like that, just get yourself a glass or a water dropper or a spritz bottle or a spray bottle or something like that, and just spray a little bit of water on the fan belt that you think is making the noise. If the belt is making a noise, when you spray the water on it, the noise will go away. It'll go away for, maybe 5-10 seconds, and it'll come right back. But that will let you spot which belt is making the noise and whether or not you need to change it. All right, so the water test is a really easy way to find a noisy belt. You guys can try it at home. There's no reason for me to demonstrate that here. But if you really wanted to see it, check out one of my previous videos on the Mercedes where we determined that the air conditioning belt was making a noise by pouring a little water on it. All right, after we loosen the power steering pump, these two bolts here will go into two holes in the body of the pump, right down here. There we go, just like that, okay? Now, you can see that will give you the ability to move this pump backwards and forwards to loosen or tighten the pump. So now we're going to go ahead and loosen 3 bolts. We've got one on the top in this adjustment slot. There's another one right there at the tip of my finger, and then there's another bolt pretty much directly below this one. So we're going to loosen those 3 bolts, and then we will be able to pivot this pump and remove the belts. All right, before we can get started, we've got to remove the alternator belt. But on this car, you'll note that my Smog pump has been removed, so we don't have to deal with that belt. All I have to do is loosen a single 9/16 bolt on the bottom of the alternator and a 1/2 inch on the top, and the alternator will come loose and we'll be able to get that belt out of there. We have to snake that around the fan. And once we get that belt out of the car, then we can install our 2 power steering belts. Holy cow, that thing was on there. Who put that on there? Oh yeah, never mind. Pivot bolt's loose. We'll loosen up the adjustment bolt. There we go. Let's get our alternator belt out of the car. Gonna have to snake it around the fan. Probably didn't need to take it all the way out, but I don't really feel like messing with it, trying to get those two belts in there with that thing in the way. All right, let's go ahead and loosen up our power steering belts. We're going to loosen up our 9/16 pivot bolt. We're going to drop our wrench first. That's like a requirement, I think, really. All right, I'm going to try to show you where this bottom pivot bolt is. Stand by. Let's see. There's the top one. That's one of the adjustment bolts. There's the bottom pivot bolt right there. All right, so we've got a 9/16 closed-in wrench for the top adjustment bolt. Just need to loosen it a little bit. We'll get the bottom adjustment bolt, which is basically halfway between the two we just loosened. All right, we should be free. We can easily move it by hand. Now we can take our two belts off. The length on these belts is kind of tight. It's kind of a tight fit. All right, one blade at a time. There we go. Those will go in the trash heap. No, I'm not going to save them. All right, let's get our new belts on the back on the car. I'm going to slip these around the fan, which is just so much fun, by the way. All right, that's actually the part I dread the most. And it is over now, so we're home free. All right, I've got to use our tool to loosen up the power steering pump a little bit more in order to get the belt all the way to the inside pulley. All right, we're all the way to the inside pulley. Now let's put the outside belt on. I know what you're thinking. The answer is yes. I know that you're thinking, you know, serpentine belts are probably one of the best inventions that ever came along on a vehicle. Well, you'd be right. All right, let's reinstall the alternator belt. Some more of the fun part. Well, at least that one's easy. So the alternator belt, I've got a modification of the pulley system on this car that allows me to remove the smog pump. The smog pump was used as an idler pulley for the water pump and the alternator. And in order to remove the smog pump, you had to install different pulleys down around the crankcase and on the water pump. And I bought that kit from they used to be called Maximum Torque Specialties. I'll put a link in the description below for that kit. It's kind of pricey, but it's well worth it. All right, let's go ahead and tighten up the alternator belt. Basically, this is just, you know, it's real old school. So what you're going to do is put a pry bar in between here and that point right there. Basically a crowbar. And just pull back a little bit with one hand while you tighten this nut with the other. Boom, Bob's your uncle. Alternator's tight. And then you tighten the pivot bolt below. All right, alternator's tight. In case you're wondering what the torque settings are on this thing, I'm not sure what the torque setting on the alternator bolts, but it doesn't really matter. Just snug them up pretty good. It'll be fine. Power steering, 22 foot-pounds on those. All right, we're going to go tighten up this adjustment bolt first. these two adjustment bolts, and then we'll tighten up the pivot bolt. These are 9/16. And you might have to move the fan out of the way a little bit. That's about 22. All right, about a 1/2 inch of deflection on the belt when you press on it. You know, you press on it right here, you get about a 1/2 inch of deflection. That's plenty tight. All right, I'm going to show you something on this top bolt, on this top adjustment bolt. You see that guy right there? It's in between the head and the back of the power steering pump. So you may or may not be able to get a closed-in wrench over that. If you can't, really there's no choice but to use a open-end wrench, which is, you know, kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm going to chalk that up to design flaw, maybe. What? Cadillac having design flaw? Come on now. That's crazy talk. I think that's pretty good. Click. Yeah, yep, there we go. That's a special torque wrench. I kind of stole that shtick from another YouTube channel that I watched. So anyway, forgive me for the robbery. I just think it's funny. All right, let's tighten up the pivot bolt down below. You know who you are, by the way, if you're watching. If you're not completely and utterly bored to tears. But anyway. All right, so let's tighten up the pivot bolt. I thought this ratchet was supposed to ratchet. Not making any noise. Wrong direction. There we go. Ow. Ow. Come on. I love working on cars. All right, nothing left to do but fire this guy up and make sure the belts are nice and quiet. I already gave it a couple of pumps on the accelerator. And got a cold start coming up on high idle. Man, oh man, oh man, that is music to my ears. It is so quiet. So before, the belts were making this, you know, it was really driving me bonkers. That is so much nicer. Wow. All right, Conti Tech. Good belts, I recommend them. All right, folks. That's all for now. I appreciate you guys stopping by my channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. We'll talk to you guys real soon.